Well, in just a matter of days, Louisiana voters will head to the polls for the November 15th open general election. We thought now would be a good time to share some vital information about that election. What better person to do that, to help us do that, than Secretary of State Nancy Landry. Madam Secretary, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Fred. Happy to be here.
You bet. So on this November 15th election, which I believe is next Saturday, first of all, what's on the ballot?
So only 34 parishes have elections on the November 15th election day, and almost all of them are just propositions. Only 2 parishes also have candidate runoffs on the same day. So it's mostly just propositions, parish propositions, local propositions that people will be voting on.
So in other words, some people in the state will not have an election to take part in.
Right, and even within a parish, not all of them are parish-wide. So we encourage everyone to go to govote.com, and that's GEAUX vote.com, or use the award-winning mobile app, GoVote mobile app, and you can see your sample ballot there and find out if you have anything on your ballot. Because even if you have an election in your parish, some of them are not parish-wide.
I can attest to the fact there is some great information on that app and the Secretary of State's website as well. We know that early voting took place from, I believe, the 1st to the 8th, but there are still a couple of deadlines out there, correct?
There are. The deadline to request an absentee ballot is November 12th, and the deadline to return an absentee ballot is at 4:30 p.m. the day before the election, which is 4:30 p.m. November 14th. So those deadlines are still out there, and people should be aware of that if they plan to absentee vote.
Obviously, this doesn't have the pizzazz as a presidential election or even a midterm election. What do you expect the turnout to be?
These local elections generally have low turnout. They just have propositions on them, and many people are not aware of them or just are not enthusiastic about them. And so we generally have low turnout for these local elections that just have tax propositions or other types of propositions on the ballot.
Now, this is an open primary. I want to, before we let you go, I want to fast forward to the 2026 closed primary elections. First of all, what do people need to know about that closed primary election?
This will be a huge change for voters in Louisiana. The legislature passed this change in 2024, and it takes effect in the spring of 2026. And in those elections, there will be 4 parties, 4 races, 5 races really, that are now closed party primary races. And they are U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives, Bessie, PSC, and the Louisiana Supreme Court. And in those races, they will now be closed party primary races. So only the major parties will have primaries. So only Republicans can vote in the Republican primary, or Republicans can only vote in the Republican primary. Democrats can only vote in the Democratic primary. And if you are an unaffiliated voter, what we call a no party voter, you can choose which one to vote in. But if you're a member of any other party, you will not be participating in those closed party primary races until the general in the fall. There will be other things on your ballot that are still open primary, other races, and other things on the ballot. So everyone votes, but we will have a new closed party primary system for the major parties, and that starts in 2026.
And I know you have been trying to educate the public on that, because it's a pretty big deal, and it's something that people really need to know about before they head to the polls. I want to bring up a poll that was initiated by John Couvion with JMC Analytics. And the poll indicates that a pretty good chunk of the electorate is unaware. The poll asks, are you aware that the open primary system has been changed? And it looks like 56% said that they were aware, but 43% is unaware. Does that concern you?
We actually find those numbers promising, because we asked for additional time from the legislature when they were proposing this change so that we could educate voters. And so we have launched a robust education campaign to educate voters about these upcoming changes. And we sent a direct mail piece to every voter household to explain it to them. And we also are going to do, I think we're already up on doing radio. We'll be doing TV ads. We'll engage people on social media as well as internet ads. And so we're just doing as much as we can to let the public know about this change before it takes place in the spring of 2026. So because we just launched it and we just sent the mail piece out a couple of weeks ago, I find those numbers promising, and we hope to get every voter aware of these changes before they head to the polls in the spring elections.
Yeah, and speaking of promising, if you look at the previous poll that John Couvion did, I believe it was a couple of months before the latest poll, it looked like 34% of the respondents said that, yes, they were aware. So that number is up to 56% now. It looks like what you're doing is working.
That's what we think too, and we didn't want to confuse voters, so we waited until this election was sort of underway, because we didn't want them to think this was a closed party primary. It doesn't start until 2026. And so that's when voters need to be aware. And we encourage everyone to check their voter registration and make sure they're registered for the party that they want to be registered with, because that will determine how you vote in these closed party primaries. So a lot of Louisiana voters have voted one way for a long time, but that doesn't mean that their party registration was changed. And so they need to check and make sure that their party registration matches their intention. And they can do that again at our website at govote.com or on our mobile app, GoVote mobile app.
All right, great information, as always. Thank you so much, Secretary of State Nancy Landry.
Thank you for having me, Fred.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.